Welcome back. Away from party politics now to continental business issues. It's no longer news that the Nigerian government has declined to sign up to the African Continental Free Trade Area. Leaders of 44 African countries met recently in the Rwandan capital of Kigali, where they approved the deal. Nigeria and South Africa, the two economic powerhouses on the continent, did not sign up to the deal, both saying they needed more time to make more consultations. The Nigerian government has since set up a committee to dialogue with stakeholders on the trade deal. In the past week, that committee has been meeting with key groups like the Nigeria Labour Congress, NLC, and the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, who are both opposed to the deal. The meeting is expected to provide an opportunity to address their concerns so that the country can sign up to the deal. All right, Mr. Ayuba Waba, President of the Nigeria Labour Congress, thank you very much for joining us. First, let's get your reaction now to the decision of the federal government not to sign the Africa Free Trade, that's the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. What's your take on that?
Yeah, it's something we have canvassed for because of the fact that as organized labor within the continent of Africa, we have had a position on the issue of free trade agreement. First, you should note that this is a trade agreement that actually is being pushed by the European Union. And they want African countries actually to be part of it. We have raised very fundamental issues. First is the issue of making sure that the interest of African countries is taken on board through these agreements, because there cannot be transformation in Africa if our industries cannot produce, if Africa will only become a dumping ground for finished goods and services. So essentially, it's about how this agreement will impact negatively on African countries, especially the workforce, because clearly the transformation that is being contained in these EPAs is to the effect that there is actually an approach to try to open up our borders and allow for finished goods and services to actually be brought in. This clearly will undermine our industries. It will also undermine and also compound the unemployment situation.
But this agreement is not the EPA agreement. We're talking about the Africa Continental Free Trade Area that was signed in Kigali. So how does this concern
Certainly. Let me give you a very clear picture of it. The same African Continental Trade Agreement is just a repackaged form of the EPAs. And that's why key countries have not signed. South Africa went there and said they needed to do consultation. What we are saying is that there must be a consultation where the details of this agreement can be shared among critical stakeholders, where we can be able to address some fundamental issues before they are signed. So clearly speaking, it's the same repackaged agreement. And I can say clearly to you that trade unions across Africa had a common position on the fact that we must engage the process within our countries so that those trade agreements, especially the African Free Trade Agreements, can be able to take on board some of these underlying factors and issues that we have raised. And part of the issue, as I said, is not to allow Africa to be a dumping ground for finished goods and services. And I can assure you also that there is a clear relationship between this agreement and what EU is pushing. We have documented evidence, we have done a lot of study, and that is why we are actually looking at this issue as an issue that we need to make it very open. And clearly speaking, you can't go and assign an agreement that also you have not made it open for engagement by various stakeholders. I remember and I recall that when this issue first came on board 1 year ago, the president directed that critical stakeholders like the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, organized labor, should be allowed to be engaged in the process so that their perspectives can also be carried on board. This has not been done. And that's why we are saying that why the secrecy? Why not open up the process, and why not let us also engage some of those issues? So this is the issue. We are not saying that partnership agreements are not good, but we are saying that we must be able to also protect our national interests and also the interests of Nigerian citizens.
The government has set up a committee to sort of dialogue with labor, manufacturers, and other stakeholders now?
Yeah, this is what we expect. This is what we have canvassed for.
Let's face it, Nigeria had been in the forefront of pushing for this agreement anyway.
Let me clearly say that even if Nigeria is at the forefront of pushing it, we must also as citizens, because policies are supposed to benefit citizens. And don't forget that one of the fundamental rights of every citizen is your participation in governance. And therefore, citizens must be allowed to participate also in governance. It's a fundamental right. So what we are saying in essence is that it's now good that this issue is now brought to public domain, and more importantly, that critical stakeholders like Manufacturers Association of Nigeria and NLC will be brought in so that we can have a discourse. We have a well-documented research into those issues, and therefore we must also be able to protect our national interests and also protect our economy. Economic development is also about making sure that there is the issue of social justice, and there is also the issue of shared prosperity. So clearly speaking, this is the angle that we are looking at the entire package.
So what would convince the NLC to buy into this?
Yes, we want a dialogue process, and we want also to have the details of the agreement, what it entails, and therefore we'll be able to make our input. We'll be able to look at areas where we think it will impede on our national development, where also we think it will kill our industries, where we also think that it will make Nigeria a dumping ground. Those are areas that we'll look at and we'll be able to address them. Let me also remind you, I remember in the past when this issue of signing into a treaty with WTO came about, I recall that India, for instance, as a country, were able to get about 221 exemptions, whereas Nigeria got only 12. So what we are saying in essence is that, yes, trade agreements are good, but we must look at what will benefit us as a country and what will benefit African countries, not the way it's going now that it's being pushed by AU and they want African countries to just buy into it hook, line, and sinker.
All right. Mr. Ayuba Waba, President, Nigeria Labour Congress, thank you very much for your time. Well, that's it on the program. If you want to watch it again, it's simple. Just go to our website, www.tv360nigeria.com. You can see this program and lots more there. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/TV360 Nigeria for more videos and updates. You can also join us on Google Plus at TV360 Nigeria, or like us on Facebook. The address is facebook.com/TV360 online. You can also follow us on Twitter. It's at TV360 Nigeria. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you again next week.